So we're going to take the photograph that we used before and I'm going to turn it into a piece of pop art, Andy Warhol style. To give you some examples, there we go. So this is Andy Warhol style. So you need to take a photograph, and your teacher should have guided you which photograph you should be using. If you're not sure, then ask your teacher. And we're going to, in my case, use the dog. So I need to select the dog. Now my dog's on a separate layer because of the work I did last time. If you're using a new photograph, you're going to have to do the same thing. You're going to have to select the dog and get it on its new layer by itself. And because you don't want the background, and put it on a plain background. So I've done that. Make sure that your layer is a smart layer, and then you should be able to copy it and go File New, and it will automatically make it the right size. So you can click OK and then paste. Okay, so this canvas size actually matches my dog. I actually want my canvas to be a bit bigger. If you want to change your canvas without actually changing the image, you go to Image and then Canvas Size, and you can add centimeters around. So I'm going to add about 8 centimeters on either side. Okay, and you can see that it puts 8 centimeters. So I'm going to move the dog back down to the bottom, because obviously it doesn't look right when she is in the middle with the legs cut off. Okay, so now I've got my dog on one layer and I've got my background which is locked. I actually want to add a background color, so I'm going to double click my background to unlock it, and then I'm going to go down to this icon at the bottom here, and I'm going to add a sorry, wrong one. Color overlay. So I've double clicked my layer and I'm going to go to color overlay. When you click color overlay, it automatically goes red, but then if you actually click on the words, you can then click different colors. So I'm going to choose a bright color. Let's go for a bright blue. Okay, and then okay. So now I've got my dog on a blue background. Okay, so now I've got the background I want and my dog. I'm going to flatten my image to make it all one. So I'm going to go to Layers, then Flatten Image. So now I've only got one. It's locked it again, so I can double click it and then it changes its name. I now need to make this a smart object. Smart objects react differently in Photoshop. It means that you can add filters to them and undo them really easily, and it doesn't affect the image. And you can put different filters on top of different filters on top of different filters. So to turn this into a smart object, you can right click it and convert to smart object, and you get this little icon at the bottom right of your picture. So you might want to crop your image. I'm quite happy with mine, to be honest, but I'll show you how to do it anyway. To crop your image, if you use the marquee tool, if you use the rectangle marquee tool and select the area that you want to keep, so I'm going to go for that area there, and then you go to Image, Crop, and it will crop the shape that you want. And now we need to make sure that the image resolution is at the right settings for this project. So you're going to go Image, Image Size. Where it says resolution, it should say pixels per inch. You need to change it to 72. Before you do that, make sure that Constrain Proportions is ticked. That means these appear and it will keep everything in perspective. It will keep the proportions of the image correct. If you don't tick that, it will change the width and the height independently, and it will either squash your image or make it fat and it will distort it. So I've ticked that, Constrain Proportions, and now I'm going to change it to 72. When I change it to 72, you'll see that the width and the height figures will change. That's fine. Then I want you to go to height and change it to 870, and it will change the width automatically, and click OK. It looks like it's made my image very small, so to get it back up to being full screen I can press Alt and then I can use the roller on the mouse to get it back up into the correct size, or you can use the magnifying tool down here. So now I'm going to select the dog again. You can do this several ways. You could use the magnetic lasso again. So one way of doing it. You could put on the magic wand and then click the background, is probably easier, and then go select inverse there, and now my dog is selected, though there's a few little issues around here. Or another way is to use the quick selection tool, which you need to set to about 10. And then you can zoom in a bit more. And then you just go over your dog, and it will select well, your object. You probably haven't got a dog. Okay, and you do that all the way over your object. Okay, so I've selected the whole object, and now I'm going to click Refine it. So the whole dog selected, click Refine Edge, click Smart Radius, and then move it up to about 10 or 11. And then on your object, I want you just to select around the hair. On mine, I'm going to do the top of the dog's head, but you'll see what this does, and then you'll have to work out how you're going to do it on your image. And then I'm going to select the layer mask, click OK. And what it does over here is it creates a layer mask of your object. I'm going to make a new layer underneath this layer. So if you click the new layer button, which is this button here, it puts a new layer on top, and then you can drag that down below. In fact, what you can do, just as a tip, if you press Control and new layer, it always puts it underneath. And I want you to make sure that your background is white. So that means out of these black and white boxes over here, that the white one is at the back. You can click this double-headed arrow to switch them around if you need to, but we want the background to be white. And then to colour, now this is white, to colour this white, if you press Control and Delete whilst clicked on this layer, it will make it white. Now I need to get my image and take the colour away. So I need to click on the dog, and then I can go to the colour filter tool and choose black and white, and that's fine. Now I'm going to make my image a smart object, all of it, so therefore I can use filters again. So if I press Shift and click on the bottom one, I have all my layers now selected, and I can right click and convert to smart objects like I did before. Now we're going to go to Filter, Filter Gallery, and going to go to Sketch and choose Halftone Pattern, and make sure that the contrast is set to 0 and the size is set to 2 and the pattern type is dot. Click OK. Now we're going to also go back to filters and sharpen, smart sharpen. The amount you're going to leave at 500 and the radius at 64, and click OK. So by doing that, the image is quite dark now, so I want to brighten it up. So I'm going to go down into the filters and going to choose levels, and then if I change this 255 to 100, it will make it brighter. Now you might think it's a bit, you need to play with this because your photo might be different to mine. So in fact I'm going to change mine to 120 because it's a bit too bright. So have a play, but you need to get your image brighter. Okay, next I want you to click on your subject to make it active, and I want you to change its type to linear burn. Then we're going to make a layer underneath this layer in order to add color to our subject. So I'm going to press Shift and the layer key and then move my layer underneath. So I made the new layer. I'm going to change the color to what I want my background color to be. So I'm going to go for quite a bright blue, and so I've selected blue on the top layer, and then when I've done that I can press Control and Delete on the layer, Alt and Delete on the layer I'm on, and the blue comes through. At the moment, that brightness that I did here, the levels, is actually affecting both my image and my background, and I don't want that. I just want it to affect my image. So I'm going to double click on the levels, and I'm going to click this button here. It might be here on yours depending on where this pops up, and now that's only affecting this layer here. Now I'm going to colour in the actual subject. So yours is probably a person, so you need to choose the colour of the skin. I'm going to choose the colour of the fur. If you've got a different object, then you need to choose the major colour that exists on your object. So I'm going to choose this orange colour. Then you need to choose the pencil tool and choose the size, put it about 10 or 20 to start off with. Hardness, make sure it's 100%, and make sure the opacity is also 100% on the top bar when you can press enter. You need to be on your layer, your background layer for when you do this, and then you can start colouring in the part of the object that you're colouring in. So I'm colouring in the fur. Now it doesn't have to be exact, it just needs to be rough. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't matter if you go over the edges at all. If you use the square brackets next to the P key, you can increase and decrease the size of your pencil tool. So there's an increase there, and you don't have to worry about black areas either too much. And you need to do the whole of your area. Okay, so I've done all the fur, so you should have done all the skin. Now I can choose another colour. So if you've got a person, you've probably got the hair to do. So you need to choose a new colour for that particular area, or whatever area you're going to do. So I'm going to go for a bright green. You should be going for bright colours generally with pop art. And I'm going to do the collar, and it's the same process. I just go over that area. I can change the size. I don't want to see any blue. And then you could use the same colour in other areas as well, so I could do the harness the same colour, but I'm actually going to change my colour. But you might want to do the clothing the same colour. Let's choose a pink, and I'm going to do the harness. Okay, so you want to go over the different areas with your different colours and stylize it how you want. If you make an error, what you can do is change the colour back to the colour that you want it to be. So I've gone over with my pink here, I've gone a bit too far, and I can go back, and here I've got a pink bit where it should be blue, so I'm going to choose blue again, and then I can go back over that bit and make it blue again. And this bit should all be skin coloured, for instance, fur coloured in my case, and I can correct and once you're happy with it, then you need to make some different versions of it. You can also, if you want to not have a hard, if you want to put some like highlights on, it doesn't work so well for my subject, but for you, you're going to have like the eye area and the lipstick area, possibly. You can change the opacity down slightly and then colour in the area, and it will give you a more of a see-through effect. So have a play with that and see what it's like, and see what you like and what you don't like. Okay, once you've finished one picture, then I want you to save a copy, just in case you want to come back to this. So save as, create a new folder called Pop Art. And I'm going to save in this folder. I'm going to say original and save it. And then I want you to flatten your image. You do that by selecting all the layers and go to Layer, Flatten Image, so it becomes one solid image, and you can get rid of the padlock again. So now I've got one image there, so I'm going to save that. File, save as. I'm going to call that flattened. The reason I've done that is because I've got the original saved. If I want to go back to it, I can use this flattened one to create other versions. So I'm going to now create 4 different versions of this, so I can lay it out in a 2x2 poster style. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation, and I can now change the colours, the hue, and it will make 4 different styles of my poster. So the first one I'm going to go for is that. I'm going to click OK, and then I would save that as poster 1, and then I would go back to Adjustments, Hue and Saturation again, and I would find a different one, different colour combination. That's the original ones, and there's another one, so I save that as number 2, and then do number 3, and then you can do number 4, or you can just use your original one. So you'll end up with 4 different rectangles which are the same image but different colour schemes, and then what you can do is put them all together. So what you need to do now is make an A4 piece of paper, so a new file, and I want it to be International Paper A4, okay, and then you can take each of your images and copy it onto this new one and resize it so it takes up a quarter of the space, and you need to get it so it ends up looking like, it doesn't have to fill the whole page, but you want 4 equal each picture, same size, next to each other, in that style. And there's your Andy Warhol finished.